The escape pod wasn't supposed to have survivors. It spun slowly through the void, scorched and silent, drifting on a dead trajectory between trade routes. Most scanners tagged it as debris. One didn't. On patrol frigate Viral, a junior sensor tech frowned at her display. "Captain, we've got a life sign." The bridge went quiet. "No," the captain said. "Human life sign." The word hung in the air like a dropped knife. Old war memories stirred. Stories, training, warnings. "Pull it in," the captain ordered, though every instinct said push it away. Magnets latched, airlocks cycled. A squad in containment suits ringed the pod, weapons set to maximum stun, just in case. The hatch hissed. Inside, in a nest of emergency fabric and flickering holostars, sat a tiny human girl in an oversized emergency blanket, bare feet swinging, hair a wild tangle. She looked up at a ring of armored aliens and smiled. "Oh," she said, "you're not Mom." Somewhere deep in the ship, an alarm for low-priority cargo retrieval quietly updated itself. Threat level unknown. Recommended panic later. They had no idea yet that reality had just adopted a new administrator.
Medical Bay 3 was supposed to be for pathogens, not little girls. Dr. Sarah, a four-eyed Cathari xenobiologist, stood in front of the quarantine field, staring at the child swinging her legs on the exam table. "So," Sarah said carefully, "your name is—" "Lexi," the girl answered. "Well, Alexis if I'm in trouble, but I don't think I'm in trouble. Am I in trouble?" "That depends," Sarah murmured. "Do you know where you came from?" "A ship," Lexi said. "It went boom." She mimed an explosion with her hands, and a soft puff of glittering light blossomed in the air. Sarah blinked. "Hologram projectors are off." Lexi watched the floating sparkles, delighted. "Whew, it worked this time." She clapped. The sparkles popped out of existence. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Doctor, status." Sarah swallowed. "Physically healthy, no obvious augmentations, emotionally stable, if chatty, and human." She glanced at Lexi's bright eyes, expressive face, messy hair. "Very," Sarah said. Lexi leaned forward. "Do you have snacks?" she asked. Every briefing Sarah had ever read about humans had mentioned war, chaos.
They gave Lexi a temporary guest quarters, which meant a clean, comfortable room with soft walls, monitored vents, hidden force field emitters, and 3 separate containment protocols disguised as friendly lighting. Lexi took one look and decided it was boring. The walls were pale. The ceiling glowed gently. A single porthole showed the stars. She pressed her hands to the glass. "Whoa," she whispered. "You have so many lights." The AI chimed in. "Those would be stars." She spun. "You're inside the walls." "Correct." "Are you a ghost?" "Incorrect. I am the Viral's core intelligence." She nodded solemnly. "Hi, core intelligence. I'm Lexi. I'm 7 1/4. Log. Subject self-identifies as Lexi. Age, I like drawing and stories and dinosaurs. And can I have crayons?" The AI paused. "Crayons?" "For drawing, on paper, or the walls. Don't tell Mom." "We do not have crayons," the AI said. "I can project interactive educational—" "Not the same," Lexi sighed. She flopped on the bed, face scrunched in concentration. "Fine, I'll make some."
Light flickered faintly around her fingers, like static playing shy. The AI flagged it as an anomaly and opened a quiet log. Note: human child exhibit unknown low-level field effects when imagining. No one read that note for several very important hours.
Sarah arrived the next morning with a data pad, a scanner, and a cautious smile. "I brought you something," she said. Lexi's eyes lit up. "Snacks!" Paper. And colored styluses." Lexi gasped as if she'd just met a celebrity. "You do have crayons! Space crayons!" She snatched them, plopped onto the floor, and began drawing with fierce focus. Sarah watched, quietly running bioscan sweeps. "What are you drawing?" Sarah asked. "A dragon," Lexi said. "Dragons are human myth creatures, yes?" "Uh-huh." She sketched quickly. Wings, scales, big friendly face. She slapped her palm flat on the page, grinning. "There, Fluffernox." Sarah tilted her head. "Fluffernox." Lexi nodded. "I made him up. He's safe. He eats nightmares and broccoli." The scanner pinged. Sarah glanced down. For a moment, the readings made no sense at all. Localized field distortion? No, that's wrong calibration. On the floor, Lexi frowned at her drawing. "Needs to be more real," she whispered. The air temperature dropped 3 degrees. On the paper, the dragon's pupils contracted. Sarah blinked. "Did that—" The drawn dragon turned its head on the page and looked at her. Sarah dropped the scanner. The scanner kept falling, very, very slowly. Objects were not supposed to fall that slowly. The scanner floated in a syrupy descent before gently resting on the floor as if gravity had decided to take a coffee break. Lexi giggled. "Oops!" Sarah stared between the scanner, the paper, and the little girl. "Lexi," she said carefully, "did you just do something?" "I imagined it," Lexi said. "Sometimes things listen." "Things," Sarah repeated. "Yeah, like when I think very hard but not too hard, what if gravity was soft? Then it gets softer." She scrunched up her nose. "Mom says I have a vivid imagination." Sarah controlled her breathing. The ship's internal sensors chimed softly in the background, quietly recording local fluctuations in constant values older than stars. Outside the room, in a compartment full of bored technicians, a tool shelf slowly rotated 30 degrees, then stopped. Someone poked it. It refused to explain itself. Sarah lifted the paper. The dragon yawned on the page, curling around Lexi's scribbled name. "This is impossible," Sarah whispered. Lexi brightened. "So I'm good at it then." Sarah turned to the wall. "Viral, record. Subject appears to induce local modifications in fundamental forces via directed imagination." The AI replied, "Confirming. Also, I am reconsidering my life choices." "You're a ship," Sarah said. "Exactly," the AI said. "I have nowhere to go." The secure transmission hit the Galactic Scientific Council like a thrown brick of pure anxiety. They gathered in a ringed chamber, species representing a dozen worlds, each watching the shared feed, a little human girl on the floor, drawing. A doodled dragon that occasionally blinked. Objects in the room drifting lazily until she stopped humming. "This is edited," one counselor said flatly. "No," Sarah replied from the hollow center.
This is live. Lexi waved at the projection, oblivious to the political heart failure she was causing. Hi, are you the TV people? A very dignified Velari elder cleared her throat. Small, human child, do you understand what you are doing? Lexi thought about it. I'm making things different. How? Another asked. I pretend, she said. The room murmured. Someone muttered, reality flux. Someone else whispered, ancient precursor myths. A military representative leaned forward. Doctor, how contained is this effect? Sarah hesitated. So far, it's local to the room, but it appears tied to her attention, mood, and boredom level. Define boredom level, the general said. She gets more experimental when bored, Sarah said. Silence. Every adult in the room had met a bored 7-year-old. The chairperson spoke last. Until we know more, the child is to be held on a secure station, limited stimuli, controlled environment, non-threatening staff. Lexi tugged Sarah's sleeve. What's held mean? Sarah's heart sank. It means, she said gently, they're scared of you. Lexi's face fell. I didn't mean to scare anyone. Reality, quietly, felt guilty.
The station's harmonized environment chamber was the kind of place designers imagined when told, make something nothing bad can happen in. White walls, white floor, white ceiling, a single bed, a table, a chair. Everything rounded, seamless, gentle. Lexi hated it on sight. It's so nothing, she said, standing in the doorway, clutching Sarah's hand. That's the idea, murmured the guard behind them. Sarah knelt. Lexi, listen. They just want to make sure everyone is safe, including you. Lexi chewed her lip. Am I dangerous? Sarah's 4 eyes softened. You are powerful, and nobody taught you how to use that yet. Mom was going to, Lexi whispered. Sarah swallowed. Then I'll help until she can. Lexi searched her face, then nodded. Okay, but I need colors and stories and snacks, or I get wiggly. Sarah turned to the wall camera. You heard her. Enrichment is not optional. The AI responded. Noted. Ordering crayons. Lexi perked up. See, you're a nice ghost ship. I am not a... The AI started, then stopped. Never mind. As the door sealed, the white walls glowed very softly, reacting to Lexi's presence. Surprisingly, they didn't stay white for long. It started with clouds. Sarah came in the next day to find the ceiling slowly drifting with soft, cartoonish clouds, lightly tinted pink and gold. They swirled in perfect loops, not projected, not painted, just present. Sarah, she asked. The girl sat cross-legged on the floor, frowning at a floating block tower that refused to obey gravity. Hi, Dr. Sarah, she said. They made it too plain. I fixed it. You fixed the sky? It was boring, Lexi said. Boring feels like when you have to stand still in itchy clothes. So I thought, what if my room was like the picture in my book from home? And then it kind of agreed. Sarah walked cautiously under a cloud. It was fluffy, and also didn't exist according to the station's sensors. Viral status, Sarah said. Local physical constants are still within acceptable parameters, but the equations are doing jazz.
Sarah looked around. The walls now had faint, moving doodles. Flowers opening, stars twinkling, dragons napping. Lexi, do you realize the station was designed to resist spatial disruptions? Lexi nodded. Yeah, it was stubborn. But I said please. You said please? Sarah repeated. The station did not comment, but its temperature regulators quietly stopped overcompensating when she smiled.
General Wrath wasn't built for talking to children. He wore a uniform with more metal than fabric and had the permanent squint of someone who'd seen too many battlefields and too few cartoons. He stepped into Lexi's not-so-white-anymore room and scowled up at the drifting clouds. "Who authorized environmental modifications?" he demanded. Lexi raised a hand. "Me." Wrath blinked. "You." "Hi," Lexi said. "You look like you eat nails for breakfast." "That is classified," he said automatically. She giggled. He tried again. "Human child, do you understand that your imagination may pose a risk to galactic stability?" She swung her legs. "Do you understand that using too many big words is bad for conversation?" Sarah, standing off to the side, pinched the bridge of her nose. Wrath pressed on. "If you can change reality, hostile forces may attempt to use you as a weapon." Lexi's smile faded. "A weapon? Like the big cannons? The ones that make ships stop talking?" "Yes," he said. "I don't like those," she said quietly. "They made Dad not come back." The clouds darkened slightly. Sarah shot Wrath a warning look. He cleared his throat. "Then you must not let anyone force you to do things you don't want." Lexi straightened. "Like Mom said, no means no, even to physics." Wrath opened his mouth, closed it, then nodded slowly. "Yes, exactly that." For the first time, he looked at her not as a threat, but as a recruit no one knew how to train.
Of course, someone tried to steal her. Far from the Council's bright chambers, in a shady cluster of station modules repurposed as black market labs, a group of very serious people watched Lexi's file. "A human reality shaper," one murmured. "Do you know what we could do with that?" "Rebuild our world," said another. "Rewrite borders. Rewrite history." Their leader, a pale-eyed Villari with cybernetic implants, tapped the screen. "We call ourselves the Liberation Front," he said. "We've spent a decade trying to undo the Council's mess, and then the universe gifts us a child who can undo more than that." "She's just a kid," someone objected. "All the better," he said. "Children are pliable." He didn't see the sensor glitch in the corner of the room, a tiny doodled ear on his notepad turning to listen. Back in her room, Lexi paused mid-crown stroke. She frowned. "Sarah?" "Yes?" "Someone's thinking loud and bad." "Where?" Lexi pointed, not at a place, at a direction in probability. Sarah's four hearts did something very uncomfortable. She opened a secure channel. "Council, this is Dr. Sarah. We may have a developing situation." Reality sighed. It had hoped, just this once, everyone would behave.
They came at sleep cycle. Two figures in maintenance uniforms approached Lexi's door, badges forged, access code stolen. The station's AI, temporarily looped by a sophisticated hack, watched them pass with a flicker of confusion. In the room, Lexi lay in bed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, stars she'd put there herself. The door hissed.
The taller figure stepped in, expression neutral. "Lexi," he said softly, "we're here to take you somewhere safer." She sat up. "Safer than the room with no sharp corners and 3 bedtime stories?" "Yes," he lied. She tilted her head. "You smell like chrome and angry thoughts." He blinked. "What?" "You want to use me," she said. "Like a laser or a hammer or a key, but the wrong way." He stepped forward. "We just need your help." Lexi frowned. "No," she said. The room changed its mind about the floor. Suddenly, down was sideways for everyone but her. The intruders slid gently into the wall, where gravity decided that was now a perfectly acceptable place to be. They stuck there, unharmed but deeply confused. The alarm finally caught up, screaming down the corridor. The AI snapped free from the hack. It announced, "I have regained control. Also, I am never again ignoring the phrase, thinking loud and bad." Lexi hugged her knees, shaking. Sarah arrived to find 2 embarrassed would-be kidnappers being peeled off the wall by security. Sarah knelt by the bed. "Lexi, are you hurt?" She shook her head. "I didn't want them to go splat. I just wanted them to stop." Sarah exhaled. "You did good." Reality quietly updated its "do not bully small humans" policy. After the attempted abduction, the council got serious. Not serious like more guards, serious like dust-off 1,000-year-old forbidden files. In a vault beneath the Galactic Library, old storage crystals hummed as they were awoken. "Precursor fragments," the archivist explained. "Records from the civilization that seeded half our tech. Most of it is still incomprehensible." Sarah stood in the cold light, arms folded, feeling very small. The AI panned through symbols, then slowed. Translating. Partial. Keyword correlation. Human. Imagination. Child phase. A projection appeared. Stylized figures. Human children. Playing, while around them shapes formed and dissolved, as if the air was clay. Text scrolled. Sarah read aloud. "When the young ones dream, the world is soft." Another line. "Their play must be guided, or reality frays. We taught them games, rules, stories, so their minds would learn to hold gently, not tear." Wrath frowned. "They're talking about humans?" "About human kids," Sarah said. "And adults?" he asked. "Stabilized," the AI translated. "Potential, focused inward. Creative, but not globally active." Sarah swallowed. "So, human kids used to shape reality. The precursors taught them not to break it?" Wrath crossed his arms. "And we forgot?" "Worse," Sarah said quietly. "We made weapons out of their parents instead." The archivist leaned in. "If this is true, that child is not a mutation. She's normal. We're the ones who lost the manual." "You cannot train a 7-year-old the way you train a soldier." Sarah tried anyway. They turned Lexi's white room into a classroom. Soft chairs, bright cushions, floating puzzles, coloring surfaces that invited harmless tinkering. Everything designed so her imagination had somewhere safe to go. "Okay," Sarah said, sitting cross-legged on a mat. "New rule, we only change things in the circle." She tapped a glowing ring on the floor. Lexi nodded seriously. "Circle is play space. Outside is no touch." "Exactly," Sarah said. "We don't bend outside. People need outside to stay the same so they don't get dizzy." Dizzy physics. She put her hands into the ring. Light rippled. Within the circle, tiny stars winked into existence, spinning around a toy shapeship. A doodled dragon chased them, flapping happily. The gravity inside the circle went sideways for a moment, then corrected. Outside the circle, pens stayed on tables, walls stayed put. The AI did not have to recalculate hallway dimensions 3 times in a row. General Wrath watched from the doorway. She's making rules for herself? Kids are good at rules, as long as they understand the why. Wrath watched Lexi, tongue poking out as she carefully restrained her own power. "What's the why?" he asked. Sarah smiled faintly. "Because she doesn't want to break her friend's toys." He glanced at her. "We're the toys?" "For now," she said. "Try not to fall off the shelf."
Everything was almost under control, which, in retrospect, is when the universe should have known better. It happened on docking ring 7. Lexi had been allowed a supervised excursion, hand firmly in Sarah's, escorted by 2 patient guards. The idea was exposure therapy. Show her real ships, real people, real stars. Let her see that the universe was big and complicated and not a toy box. It worked. For a while. They passed a cargo hauler where engineers argued over a stuck loading arm. "It's jammed," one grumbled. "We need a tug." "Tugs are all busy," another said. Lexi watched with quiet concern. "They're sad." "They're frustrated," Sarah corrected. "Big difference." Lexi frowned. "I could help." Sarah opened her mouth to say no. "Inside the circle," Lexi added quickly. Sarah blinked. There was no circle here. Lexi let go of her hand and traced one on the deck with her finger. Light shimmered, forming a faint glowing ring. "Circle rules," she whispered. She stepped into it, closed her eyes, and whispered, "I wish they had a helper." The air above the ring thickened. A glowing, translucent creature emerged, roughly cat-shaped, with wings and stubby horns, tail curled like a question mark. It blinked huge eyes and purred. "Fluffernox 2.0, Lexi said proudly. "Please lift the arm gently." The creature nodded, floated through the air, and nudged the massive loading arm. The ship moved. Slowly, carefully, the entire hauler shifted back into alignment, as if guided by an invisible tug. Engineers gaped. The AI yelled something about mass anomaly. Sarah simultaneously wanted to faint and applaud. "See?" Lexi said. "Helpers, not smashers." Sarah pinched the bridge of her nose. "You made a construct that can lift a ship." "Only inside the circle," Lexi said. The circle obediently stayed put. Small miracles.
The Liberation Front didn't give up. They grew desperate. In a hidden channel, their leader sent one last message to his lieutenants. "We can't capture the child," he said. "The council wrapped her in too many protocols, but we can force their hand." "How?" someone asked. "We stage an existential threat," he said. "Something that forces them to either use her or lose everything." He tapped a star chart. "We still have control codes for the old war relic at Zeta 9. Silence. "Zeta 9 is banned," someone whispered. "It destabilizes star cores." "Exactly," he said. "We activate it on low power, enough to panic them. They'll bring her. They'll ask her to fix it. We'll intervene." No one noticed that the doodled ear on the notebook from before was migrated to the table's underside and was still listening. Back in her room, Lexi frowned. "More loud bad thinking?" Sarah asked. Lexi nodded. "They want to break a sun," That's rude. Sarah's blood ran cold. Where? She asked. Lexi pointed. This time, Sarah knew enough to translate that into coordinates. Zeta 9's star was a calm yellow-white ball when they arrived. It didn't stay that way. On the bridge of the Council flagship, alarms blared as the star's corona twisted into unnatural spirals, flares looping back on themselves like someone had told fusion to improvise. Relic weapons signature, the science officer snapped. Localized core destabilization underway. How long until critical? Wrath demanded. Hours, maybe less. Evacuation? Someone suggested. There are 6 inhabited stations and 3 terraforming projects in this system, Sarah said. We'll never clear everyone in time. All eyes turned to the screen showing Lexi, strapped into a safety couch beside Sarah, watching the distorted star with wide eyes. This is because of me, Lexi whispered. No, Sarah said quickly. This is because people are selfish and scared. And they want to make you use me like a plug or a broom for the sky. Wrath knelt beside her. Can you fix it? Lexi looked at the star. I don't know. Stars are big. I've only practiced on rooms in cranes. We shouldn't ask this of her, Sarah said. We shouldn't have to, Wrath agreed, but here we are. Lexi hugged her knees. If I don't try, people will go away forever, she said. Her voice shook. I don't want that, she added. I already lost too many. Sarah's hand trembled as she took Lexi's. Then we do it together, Sarah said. Circle rules, one step at a time. Lexi nodded. Okay, she murmured to the universe. Be gentle.
They couldn't draw a circle around a star. Lexi tried anyway. In the ship's observation dome, she stood surrounded by hollow projectors displaying Zeta 9 in impossible detail. The star writhed, flares twisting like anxious fingers. Okay, she whispered, circle. On the floor, light flowed from her bare feet, tracing a glowing ring that expanded until it touched the walls, then sank into them. The ship's sensors screamed, then went quiet. Local reality fields are aligning, the II said. I do not know how I know that. Lexi reached out with both hands toward the holographic star. Stars are like campfires. Mom said that. Too big to touch, but pretty to look at. If you poke them too much, they spit. Sarah stood behind her, voice soft. This one's been poked by something very rude. Lexi nodded. So we ask it to calm down. Her brow furrowed. I'm sorry. They made you scared. You're too hot in the middle. What if we make you comfy? The instruments registered a dip in core turbulence. Is that working? Wrath asked. Impossible, someone said. Get used to that word meaning less, Sarah replied. Lexi squeezed her eyes shut. Soft gravity, like a hug. Gentle spin, no sharp edges. You can rest. The star's twisted corona slowly smoothed. The weapon's embedded machinery, ancient precursor tech, sputtered as its settings were quietly overwritten by a 7-year-old's idea of comfortable. The flare pattern normalized. Core stabilizing, the science officer breathed. She's doing it. Outside, the Liberation Front's hidden ship read the same data. What do we do now? A lieutenant asked. Their leader stared. How do you steal someone, he said slowly, after watching them soothe a star?
They broadcast it. Not the classified details, not the weapons specs or Lexi's power readings, just the image. Every world with a receiver saw a little human girl standing in an observation dome, holding a toy dragon in one hand and Sarah's hand in the other, staring at a star that should have gone mad and didn't. Her voice carried, small but steady. "It's okay," she said. "You don't have to explode to prove you're strong." On far-flung stations, miners stopped to watch. In crowded market domes, vendors and customers alike fell quiet. In war-scarred planets still rebuilding, people looked up at the nearest sky screen and saw a child telling a star to calm down. And it listened. On one world, a parent picked up their own child and whispered, "That's a human." The kid, eyes wide, replied, "She's like me." On another, an old veteran who had fought humans growled, "Weapon." His granddaughter said, "Guardian." In a back room of the council station, politicians argued about optics and power balances. In the white room Lexi hadn't slept in for days, doodles of stars and smiling suns slowly filled the walls. The galaxy had been afraid of human imagination. Now it had to decide what to do with human compassion.
After Zeta 9, the offers came. "Bring her to our academy," one faction said. "We will teach her discipline." "Let our mystics guide her," another urged. "She is clearly chosen." "The military must retain oversight," Wrath argued, then added, "for her protection." Through it all, Lexi sat on her bed, hugging her knees, listening to adults discuss her like weather. Finally, she said, "Can I talk now?" The room fell quiet. The council chair turned to her and said, "Of course, Lexi. What do you want?" She thought about it for a long, long minute. "I don't want to be a weapon," she said, "or a project, or a symbol." Sarah squeezed her shoulder. "I want to go home," Lexi said. "If my home is still there, or if it's not, I want a new one, with people who don't look at me like a bomb." She glanced at Sarah, at Raph, at the hollow of the galaxy. "And I want other kids like me," she added, "so we can learn together, so nobody has to be scared alone." Sarah wiped at her eyes. Wrath cleared his throat. "We can build that," he said. "A school, a sanctuary, with rules and circles and snacks." Lexi smiled faintly. "Good, because I'm tired of saving your stars for free." The AI chimed in. "Logged. Union negotiations underway."
They built it on a quiet moon. Not too populated, not too isolated. Just enough sky to dream under and safety protocols to keep any accidental daydreams from turning a mountain into a marshmallow. The Reality Harmonization Academy, someone dubbed it. Lexi called it the Big Playdate. Children from across the galaxy came, most ordinary, a few with strange talents, one or two other humans who had drawn things that moved when no one else was looking. The campus was bright, full of rounded buildings, interactive fields, art rooms, meditation gardens. Circles were everywhere, on floors, in courtyards, on rooftops, each one a dedicated, supervised imagination zone. Sarah taught Gentle Thinking 101. Wrath, to his own astonishment, taught Responsibility and Not Breaking Suns. Lexi ran across a grassy hill, barefoot, chasing a flock of semi-imaginary birds that only existed between certain trees. She paused at the top, looking down at the campus. "Do you miss being the only one?" Sarah asked, joining her. Lexi shook her head. "No, I like not being special." "You're still special," Sarah said. Lexi wrinkled her nose. Fine. I like not being alone. On the hilltop, she drew a small circle with her toe. Inside it, just for a moment, a tiny T-Rex wearing a party hat appeared, waved at her, and vanished. Practice makes stable.
Years later, people would argue about when, exactly, the galaxy stopped being afraid of her. Some said it was the day she calmed a rogue wormhole by telling it was not a nice way to enter a room. Others said it was when she refused to uncollapse a stock market crash, saying, "Money lessons are important." But those were just stories. The truth was quieter. On an ordinary day, under an ordinary sky on the Academy moon, Lexi, older now, but still with that spark in her eyes, walked along a path lined with flowers that sometimes changed color when she complimented them. A group of younger kids surrounded her. One tugged her sleeve. "Miss Lexi," they said, "are we really dangerous?" She crouched down, thinking. "We could be," she said, "if we decided other people's toys didn't matter, if we broke things just because we could." The kids frowned. "But we're not going to do that," she said. "You know why?" "Circle rules?" one suggested. She smiled. "Circle rules, and because we practice being kind more than being scary." She pointed up at the sky, where ships passed peacefully overhead. The galaxy thought the most dangerous thing a human could be was a soldier. They were wrong. "What is it then?" a little one asked. Lexi stood, looking toward the stars she'd once kept from tearing themselves apart. "The most dangerous thing we can be," she said, "is someone who cares what happens to everyone else." Far away, a star burned steadily, comfortable in its skin. The universe, for once, agreed.